Howdy, howdy. Welcome everyone to our Kellogg session at the MBA Spotlight for 2024. We're super excited to have you all here. My name's Forrest Spoon, and I'll get to be your host. It's my pleasure to also introduce you to Jerry and Ika from the Kellogg School at the admissions team. We're going to begin with a quick overview. They're going to go into the details that they're really passionate about for the MBA program at Kellogg, any critical information you need to know to be successful. After this brief presentation, we're going to open it up to all the Q&A you have, and we'll do our best to answer as many questions as you can. For everyone, we really encourage you to post your questions in the Q&A tab, and in there you'll be able to upvote, so that way I'll get to see whichever questions are most pressing for all of you. So be sure to go into your Q&A tab, upvote any questions you see that are most relevant. And with that, I think it's the perfect time to hand it over to Jerry and Ika.
Thank you, Forrest, and thanks so much for having us today. Really excited to be here to talk a little bit about Kellogg and hopefully be able to answer a lot of your questions. So, folks that are in this session, we have an assumption that you've probably done a little bit of research on business schools in general, hopefully a little bit of research on Kellogg. So we do have an abbreviated slide deck that we'll go through. As Forrest mentioned, some of the things that we really want to kind of emphasize. Then I really want to get to your questions as quickly as possible. But at the same time, I want to ground everybody so that we all kind of have a base level of information about the school. And hopefully, some of the questions you came into this session get answered through viewing our slides. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started going through this. And, when you're looking at business schools, uh, a lot of the things that you're going to see in business schools are very, very similar in terms of the quality of that education you're going to get. The faculty are amazing. The students you're in class with are really, really interesting people that are going really, really great places and have a lot of really interesting things going on. You're going to get a great job. All of that is pretty similar across the top business schools. So when you're looking at these schools, try to look for things that kind of form the identity of that school and what makes that school them. And for us, it's really the words on the screen and really kind of the orange words on the screen. We're very analytical but creative. We want to use data to help drive creative decision making. Very focused on innovation, trying to find new ways to do things, new experiences to bring to customers and businesses, things like that. And then social intelligence and collaboration, really important for us. Those of you that have spent time in the workforce know that's how business gets done. That's how work is done. You have to work with other people. You have to be good at working with other people. You can't really lone wolf it. And so we're really focused on making sure that our culture really leans heavily into the idea of collaboration, teamwork, this social intelligence, this ability to understand how to get the most out of others that you're working with, and how do you provide your best self in that as well. So, with that, we do have a number of different MBA options for you here at Kellogg. We're a little bit unique in this, certainly within the U.S. marketplace, with just the breadth of different programs that we offer. So the ones that you can see on the screen are the main ones that we have. Our 2-year MBA. This is our most popular, most flexible, highly customizable MBA. You can really make this MBA what you want it to be, and I'll go into some detail about that in a little bit. That is a 2-year program. We're on the quarter system here at Kellogg. You'll do 3 quarters, then you have summer internship, and then you do 3 quarters and you graduate. We have a 1-year program. So this is an accelerated MBA. This is for folks that have a basis in business already, maybe looking at a little bit less of a pivot, instead of maybe pivoting multiple factors around function and industry. Maybe you're just going in one of those, or maybe you're going to go back to your company, those types of things. That might make the 1-year MBA a good fit for you. There is no internship with the 1Y. MBAI, this is a specialized MBA in partnership with our engineering school at Northwestern. This is a tech-focused MBA, so even some of the core courses in this are different to the core courses you would take in one of our other MBA programs. Particularly, I like to use the example of finance. our finance sort of core entry level finance course has a very tech focus to it in the MBAI program versus the more broad and traditional finance course in our other MBA programs. This is a 1.5 year program, and it does include summer internship. Next, we have our Triple M. This is another degree in partnership with our engineering school. And in fact, you're getting two master's degrees here. This is a dual degree. You get a master's in business administration, the MBA, and then you also get a master in design innovation from the Siegel Design Institute at McCormick School of Engineering at Northwestern. So it's 2 degrees. It's really for folks that are focused on design innovation. They really want to challenge and push the boundaries of UX and UI, really making unique and different experiences and programs and products for people. This is one additional quarter to the traditional 2-year MBA. There is an internship for this. And then finally, the JD MBA. You'll see this in a lot of schools. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's an MBA from Kellogg. It's a JD in law from Northwestern Law. It's called the Pritzker School of Law. It's a 3-year program. You spend a year with law, a year with us, and then your third year is split between the two. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the learning process. And I mentioned a little bit ago that I would go into details about how customizable your MBA gets to be. Now, in some of those sort of specialty MBAs, you do have some additional requirements you have to hit in order to achieve those. But there's so much flexibility, and there are so many different ways you can take this. So on the left side of the screen here, we've got our majors, and this is very common to MBA programs. This is probably very similar to what you saw in undergrad. These are very functionally focused. So you get a major in operations or economics or accounting, something like that. You can major in as many things as you can fit your electives into doing. I'm an MBA Kellogg alumnus, and I actually triple majored. I wouldn't recommend that necessarily, but because it really restricts the sort of electives that you can take. However, you have that freedom if that's what you want. You actually aren't required to declare a major. There actually is no declaration of a major. You're not required to fulfill a major. If most people will end up with at least one major based on the electives that they take, but you have the freedom to do what's called a general management degree here at Kellogg as well. So completely up to you how you want to drive this. On the right side of the screen, we have something called pathways. So pathways are a different way we have sort of organized how these courses can be viewed by you, the student, as you're looking to determine what your MBA course load is going to look like. So pathways are much more industry focused. So maybe if you're interested in real estate or social impact, PEVC, something like that, you can dive into those pathways and you can look at all the courses that we've identified that ladder into those areas. So again, there's no requirement here. You have the complete freedom to do this however you want to do it, and take whichever courses you want to take. So these are just different ways that we've got for you to sort of organize and look at the different courses we have. Now, I mentioned flexibility. Flexibility is a word you're going to hear a lot when you talk to Kellogg and you learn more about Kellogg. We have over 200 electives, so you really get to direct how you want this to go. We're continually adding new courses, but I think what's really, really interesting and a great opportunity for our students are experiential learning courses. So we have some lab courses, and what these lab courses are is an ability and an opportunity for you to partner with a real company on a real project, spending, a lot of our students spend it 1 day a week in the office with that company, doing the work, doing the thing. So you're learning by doing, you're applying things that you've learned prior to this course. But this is a great opportunity to get that hands-on experience. Um, a lot of MBA students are very interested in global opportunities. We are no strangers to global opportunities. Just really, really quickly, we have a number of different exchange partners across the U.S. Across the world. Sorry. So if you would like to spend a term studying at, say, INSEAD outside of Paris, you can do that. That is very much an option for you. We also have a course called Global Initiatives in Management, or GYM. We abbreviate everything here, so that's fair warning. But our GYM course, this is a course that you take where during the term you're studying in class all about a country. I'll pick one from where I see a gym trip on here. Looks like we have one in South Korea. So you will spend the term learning all about South Korea. You will learn about the culture. You'll learn about the history of South Korea. You'll learn about the business current economic setup and business environment in Korea. And then you will travel to South Korea over spring break. You will learn all about what's going on in South Korea. You'll meet with people in South Korea, a lot of our alumni that are in South Korea, and learn all about their experiences. You'll meet with heads of state there. You'll meet with titans of industry there, and have this really enriching, great experience about that country. So the course is usually on a specific uh, topic within that country, and so that'll be kind of the focus of the course. And it's not on the slide yet. We have to add it for next year. We're going to New Zealand for the first time, so very, very excited about that. And then finally, we have something called Quest, again, abbreviations. Uh, Kellogg Worldwide Exploration Student Trips. This is a pre-term opportunity that all of our students have the opportunity to take advantage of. These are led by our second year students for our incoming first year students, regardless of which MBA program you're joining. These are all over the globe as well, and we really classify these into three different types of experience. If you want a more social experience, you want to lay on a beach somewhere, you can have that in the Bahamas, for example. Or maybe you want a service oriented trip, you want to go build a school in Panama, you can do that. Or maybe you want an activity focused trip and you want to bike across Norway, you can do that. So, different opportunities for different ways to meet members of the Kellogg community and really get a deep connection with a group of students as you're going into your MBA. So a lot of students, as I said, take advantage of Quest. We have these globally. We also have them here in the U.S. And even some in the Chicago area. So depending on what kind of experience you want to have, that will be available to you. All right, let's talk a little bit about once you get here. And I would be remiss if I didn't spend a minute to talk about Evanston. Evanston is where I am currently situated, is where our campus is for our full-time students. That is our global hub building that you can see on the slide. I do have a bit of a bias. I actually grew up in Evanston, coincidentally. I went to high school here. So I have a different perspective, I think, to a lot of our students. But I will say there's a reason our students call it Heavenston, and that's only slightly ironic. I think they do really love being here. What's great about Evanston is it's this really nice mix of being a college town, if that's the kind of experience you want to have. And the part of Evanston where Northwestern is very college town esque. So the types of restaurants you would expect to have in a college town, bars and things like that, different activities and social opportunities. We are right on the shores of Lake Michigan. Our campus actually has two beaches. So if you want to spend time at the beach, you can certainly do that. And honestly, if I look to my right, I can look out my window and I can see the skyline of Chicago. So that's how close Chicago is. I don't know how many of you have spent time in Chicago or are aware of Chicago. It's a 40-minute light rail from campus to downtown. So very, very accessible, very easy to get there, and certainly tons of cultural opportunities in Chicago. It's the third largest economy in the U.S., as you can see on the slide. And we actually work with a lot of the organizations here in Chicago. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to have experience and exposure there. A lot of our students spend time going between the two cities. Finally, student life clubs. We have over 100 clubs. Lots of different ways to get involved. If it's a geographically based club, for example, like the LATAM Club or Africa Business Club, something like that. Maybe it's an affinity based club like Pride at Kellogg or Hispanic Management Association, or maybe it's just a fun club. We have a club called Brew and Q. This is a club that gets together and eats barbecue and drinks beer. So, depending on the type of experience you want to have with that, there's no additional fee to join any of our clubs. You can join as many clubs as you like. We do recommend that maybe don't join all of the clubs because you're spreading yourself very thin. But depending on what kind of experience you want to have, you really get to direct that how you want it to be. All right, let's talk really briefly about careers because that's the reason you're looking at an MBA, right? Most people are doing this because they want to impact in a positive manner their career. So I'll start by talking about CMC, Career Management Center. This is an amazing, amazing team. They do incredible work. They have a lot of different opportunities for you to get one-on-one coaching, workshops, and programming if it's working on your resume or working on interview prep, things like that. They host on-campus recruiting and networking events where companies come to campus. They're looking for Kellogg talent. We of course have our own job board, and we have our library where you can do research on um, different organizations, different industries, different functions. This is the one area that CMC says is probably under discussed, but is just a really, really great resource for our students to have. And all of this is lifetime, right? So once you graduate, once you're an alumnus, you get to come back and take advantage of these resources. This is something I have used as an alumnus in my career, utilizing Kellogg resources for career management. So amazing, amazing team that is here to help you. Here's a snapshot of our 2023 employment outcomes. 2024 is being finalized, so we'll be updating this slide shortly. But the key headline here: you're going to get a great job. It's going to pay you a lot of money, and you can go in a lot of different places in the U.S. or certainly even globally in many, many different uh, industries. So if you have a vision for how you want to use your MBA, we can help you achieve that vision. So let's talk about how to get here. Financing your MBA, obviously, the MBA degree is not inexpensive. We know that. We've got you're automatically considered for merit scholarship. There's no additional application for that. And just by virtue of submitting your application, we will review you for that. And then we have an amazing financial aid team that will help you figure out how you're going to cover any gap that may exist after scholarship is awarded. So they're here for you. They'll do amazing work to help you figure all of this out and exactly how that will work. As far as the application process, the things that we look for in terms of materials are on the left side of this. So we want to see your work experience, a resume. Want to hear about your various experiences in work. We have written and video essays. I'll talk about video essays probably as one of the questions you guys will ask. Test scores, we do not have preference for GMAT or GRE, but we do require one of these. Um, we do interviews. We do endeavor to interview as many people as we can. Transcripts of your school, undergrad experience, and then letters of recommendation. The things that we are looking for in applicants, we want to understand your ability to do the work right here in class and be academically successful. But we really want to see your work experience and understand what have you done before you got here. We want to understand your professional goals. What are you looking to do with this MBA? Want to see evidence of leadership potential or even demonstrated leadership. What kind of impact have you had in the activities that you've taken on, be it activities at work or activities outside of work? And then your interpersonal skills, as I mentioned at the beginning, very, very important that you understand the ability to work with others. We want to see that. We want to understand that and see how you've worked with other people. How will that translate into the classroom? And then certainly after you graduate. So, next applications are due January 8th. I imagine some of you on this call have already submitted, and that's amazing too. We do have decision release coming out next month for round one. But if you're still working on your applications, you've got some time, and certainly round three, April 2nd as well. I will say really, really quickly, we don't have any sort of preference for what round you apply. You don't have necessarily a better chance of being admitted based on the round you apply to, and it's purely due to the strength of your application. So, excuse me, if you are struggling to finalize your application for whatever reason, we understand life happens and work comes up, and your app needs to slide to the later round. Totally okay. And in fact, if it's going to make a better application for you, then that's what we prefer. We admit people in every round, and we see amazing applicants in every round. So don't feel like you have to try to land in one round or another. Our contact information is there, so I'm going to leave this slide up. But that's the end of my deck. I went through that really, really fast, so fully understand if there are questions that came up as a result of that, and I'm very, very excited to answer those. But Forrest, I'll turn it over to you to let me know what questions you feel we should answer first.
Awesome, Jerry. Thank you so much, and thank you, Ika, for going through the Q&A. And I see you already putting in answers to some of the questions, so that's extremely helpful. I think playing right off that, a lot of people are asking, what's the best fit for Kellogg?
Yep.
How do I figure out my profile's a good fit? We kind of covered the basics, so I
Yeah.
guess a little bit more specific, Jerry. What's
Yeah.
a unique way that a candidate has stood out to you in an admissions process?
All right. Unique way. I think the thing that really helps a candidate stand out is their ability to tell us why, right? There are three questions we need to answer, and we feel this is so important. We actually made this our first essay. We want to understand, why do you want an MBA? Why do you want to go to Kellogg? And why is now the time? Right? If you can answer those three questions, that's the best way to set yourself apart. Despite the fact that we have explicitly asked this, it's still something that for whatever reason some applicants struggle to be able to communicate with us. So we just need to see that, and that will really put you in well positioned place to do that. Now, if the question is oriented around, do my stats sort of line up, or things like that, certainly take a look at the class profile. That's a great place to start. But also know that we admit people outside of those ranges every year, right? So, um, and you can look at areas and see, okay, is there an area where I'm stronger? Is there an area where maybe I'm not as strong? Uh, we do a very holistic process, and you're going to hear that from a lot of schools, because I think we all recognize, right, that you're more than just your GPA and your test scores, right? We want to understand all the other parts that fit into who you are. But again, it goes back to answering those questions for us. What are you bringing to Kellogg, and what is Kellogg going to do for you?
Excellent. I love that holistic perspective. I think that really can quell some anxiety that us admissions candidates are looking at in terms of, where do I focus? Where can I put more time in?
Yep.
Um, I see another interesting one coming in regarding resources. It says, what resources does Kellogg provide to students actively working on their own ventures?
Yep.
Are there any specific incubators,
Yep.
funding, pitched events for early stage business ideas?
Yeah, yeah, we have a few things, and some of these are actually Northwestern wide. So we have something called Venture Cat. So Northwestern are the Wildcats, so you'll hear a lot of references to cats and things like that. We have something called Venture Cat. This is a competition where you can apply for, make a presentation and get awarded funding. Um, we also have something in Northwestern called the Garage, which is actually literally across the parking lot from the global hub. This is an incubator space within Northwestern for people that have an idea and they're looking for other folks to help them with that idea, or people that want to get involved in a venture but maybe don't want to pursue their own idea. There's a great opportunity for both groups to connect and work on projects that way. Additional to that, we have a couple of things unique to Kellogg. Um, we have something called Zell Fellows. This is an opportunity for second year students to apply to get mentorship funding from Sam Zell and his group here in the Chicago area. So help with your startup and things like that. And then on top of that, Ika can certainly attest to this as well. Every year, we see and hear about different students that have different startups that they've got going on here on campus, different things that they're doing. In my time here, and now I've been here a little bit, but um, I don't know if you know what like a romper is, like the woman's garment. There's a group that created something called the Romp Him, so it's a men's romper. So they launched that here, and we're selling that on campus, and I think that went pretty well. There's another woman who was working on how to use. I know there's a term for it, and I always forget what it is, but basically produce that is like bruised or whatever, but it's still fine to eat. Taking that produce, turning it into little freezer cubes that you then mix in with liquid to make a smoothie. She was selling those. Like we have all different kinds of different initiatives and things that people take advantage of when they're here.
Fantastic. Sounds like a great community that's looking to make some innovative ideas for the romp him.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I have an interesting one here, going back to kind of the application and admissions process. What are the things a candidate can do after submitting that can tip the scales in their favor? And I imagine kind of expanding into like if you get an interview, sort of things you can prep for.
Yeah, yeah. The interview, I'm glad you brought that up. The interview is really behavioral based, so there's no case questions or anything like that. Um, my recommendation is to kind of know your STAR stories. So STAR is an acronym: situation, task, action, and result. It's just a nice way to kind of organize your various stories. Write out several of these and just be prepared to be able to apply them to various questions you might get asked. But you're going to get asked questions about what have your accomplishments been, what are opportunities for leadership you've taken, those types of things. I think if you look at if you look back at this slide here and you look at what we look for, our questions are really oriented around these categories, right? These are the things that we want to know more about. So that would be the best way to prep for your interview. Outside of that, I mean, not really a lot. I would say if you have a major update, you can certainly share that with us. We have an opportunity for you to upload new information within your applicant portal. So maybe you retook a test and you got a score you're really proud of. You can certainly share that with us. The one thing I will say is that any information that you submit there may or may not be considered based on when you submit it and when your application gets read in the evaluation period. So that would be the only thing. But other than that, like you've done all the hard work, right? So I would say rather than anything you can do to kind of help yourself stand out, do more research on the schools you've applied to so that when you get decisions, you feel in a better position to kind of choose which direction you want to go.
Excellent. And I think that kind of leads into a couple questions I've been seeing come up.
Sure.
The first one I've sort of seen, what type of person
Yep.
thrives at Kellogg and what type of person doesn't? And I also
Ye-
saw another one that said, what was some reasons that potential candidates chose Kellogg as their school of choice compared to others?
Yeah, yeah. I think I think in terms of choosing schools, it comes down to like choosing the right fit for you. um and understanding like what that fit is for you, right? Our culture here is very strong on this concept of high impact low ego. What we believe there is that getting ahead doesn't require you stepping on other people, and in fact, um, you're better served to bring people along with you, right? The process of doing that is not just altruistic and helping them, but it also helps you, right? You're learning through that process as well, and there's things that kind of help you with that. But that's not a culture for everybody, and that's totally okay. As far as the people that do well here, I think there's a bit of a perception that Kellogg is full of very outgoing A type uh, extroverted people. And I'm actually super introverted, right? I don't know if it comes through on this session at all. Probably not because I love talking about Kellogg. I'm really passionate about it. But I'm not the person that like seeks out a ton of parties to go to or getting hyper involved in like 10 different things. That's not me. But that's okay because I still found a great place for myself here. I loved it here. I mean, I loved it so much I came back to work here, right? Like this is such a great experience for me. So it's something where you can really fit in the way you want to fit in here. You can be who you want to be here, which I know sounds maybe a little corny, but it's very true, and it's very true of my experience. Um, there's no pressure to join or do or things like that. This really can be the experience you want it to be.
Fantastic. And I guess for me, I kind of am interested since you went to Kellogg yourself and
Yep.
now are still there.
Yep.
How has the school kind of grown with you, and what
Sure.
areas have you been most impressed with?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's so many cool things that have come about that I wish were here when I was a student, right? And kind of the obvious in your face one is this building. I mean, the building wasn't here when I was a student. We had a very different building. It was kind of dingy and dark, but we didn't know any better, right? Like that was the building we had. But it's the people, right? And that's the part that hasn't really changed a lot. Like the people here are amazing, but there's so many new courses, so many new opportunities to do things. We didn't have nearly the number of lab courses that we have now. That was not really an option for me. Gym has been around forever, so I'm excited to see that that's still here. But we're constantly doing new courses. The MBA program didn't exist when I was here. Um, it's all of those things have continued to shift, and this emphasis on experiential learning has really been incredible to watch, and something I think is really benefiting our students.
Fantastic. And I'm sure that plays a lot into sort of the student-led clubs that are
Yep.
on campus. I guess have which clubs did you participate in your time, and which ones are you excited to see have sort of blossomed since then?
Yeah. So, for me, I was in the marketing club, and that was fine, right? And I was in the I did some Brew and Q stuff. That yes, that existed back then too. But I didn't do a lot. I actually, so personally, both my kids were born when I was at Kellogg, so that took a lot of my time. Sort of understandably, I think. That's the other side of it, right? Is that you can have this experience that you want to have, and my buddies were involved in a lot more things than I was, and that worked for them, right? They weren't having kids right? Like during their MBA. It just depends, right? The kind of experience you want to have and what you want this to be.
Excellent. And I guess moving back towards the application process, I see
Yep.
one that came in. How is the interview process different at Kellogg compared to other MBA programs, or how is it the same?
Yeah, I think some programs do some highly specific types of interviews. Like I feel like Wharton has like a panel that they do. But as far as the Kellogg interview process, I would say the main difference for us versus others is the volume of interviews that we do. Going back to that holistic approach that we take, um, we really find that we want to have as many pieces of information to help make our decision. Um, as possible. And so that's why it's so important to try to interview as many as we can. We, of course, don't have the capacity, unfortunately, to interview everybody, but we interview by far the most candidates of any top MBA program.
Excellent. Yeah, I know a couple different M7s have their own ways of evaluating that can be sort of stressful to tackle. So I appreciate the insight on that one.
Sure.
Uh, I know experiential sort of learning and initiatives were sort of big, so I saw this one come through. Some transformative experiential learning initiatives, such as Kellogg Innovation Entrepreneurship Program, that have empowered students to tackle complex challenges.
Yeah, I think all of our lab courses are amazing. So, like, we have a PE lab and a VC lab. If that's something you're interested in, consulting lab. These are great ways to get your hands dirty, like I said, and get involved in learning by doing, and applying things that you've learned in prior courses. I think any of the entrepreneurial opportunities you take advantage of are fantastic. Certainly, gym is another opportunity for you to get involved and do something beyond, reading cases and having discussions and, solving cases and things like that. Um, and then certainly, we have lots of competitions we join as well, that are kind of multi-school competitions for um, pitch competitions and case competitions and things like that. So if that's interesting to you, you can definitely have that experience.
Excellent. And then I think a little bit more interesting for me to understand the back end for the admissions team, being that you guys interview so many spectacular candidates, the creme de la creme, if you will. What's sort of the best part of being in that role, and then the hardest part of going through all these applications?
Yeah, I think the best part is just to see all the really amazing things you guys are doing. There's some really, really interesting, fascinating experiences that you all are sharing with us, and that's really interesting to me. I definitely get a little bit of like, what am I doing with my life based on what I'm reading some of you all are doing, and that's really, really cool. But that is also the most challenging, right? Because um, there are so many people that are doing so many amazing things, and there are people every cycle that would make amazing Kellogg students, and we just don't have room in the class for them. And that is the hardest thing for me. It's a little heartbreaking, frankly, until I remind myself that there are so many great MBA programs out there, and that these people are getting in somewhere, and they're going to have a great experience there. But I think yeah, I think it's really that, like just, the ability to see what amazing people are coming into Kellogg, my alma mater, a school I'm very proud of, being a part of, and that are gonna help represent, eventually my alumni network, and just how great, Kellogg is as a place is something that really, really, resonates strongly with me.
Awesome. No, it's good to see from your end going all the way from student, alumni, now director in admissions, how
Yeah.
the school has sort of grown and sort of that network has really expanded. And I like this one. We've already sort of touched what are the key differentiators you're looking for in the application, but I guess a good topic. What are common mistakes that prospective students often fall into?
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. I would say, one of the common mistakes we get in the video essay and certainly in the interview is coming off overly rehearsed. Um, I think so much of the application, you really have the ability to fine tune and make kind of perfect for you or from your experience or perspective. Certainly in essays we see that, and so what we're looking for in your video essays and then certainly in the interview is your authentic self. We want to see who you are. The video essays are meant to be reasonably unscripted, frankly. We want to see your ability to think on your feet, answer questions that maybe you're not expecting. And even if it's a question you've prepared for, we want to understand like a sort of authentic view of you. That really helps us to see you here. And then in the interview, certainly, don't over rehearse for this. Uh, Obviously, there's so many A types in this session, right? People applying to business school, and so you want to be able to control everything that you can control, and that's fully understandable. But the flip side of that is that we want to understand you, and we want to see who you are, when you're not overly scripted, right? Because that helps us to see you here at Kellogg.
Awesome. It seems like a lot of people who go to Kellogg, who love Kellogg, are really mission driven. So this one sort of caught my eye. What are sort of the resources available for students
Yeah.
interested in the social impact space and maybe example projects that they've worked on?
Yeah, yeah. I think, unfortunately, I don't have any example projects to go into specifics on, but social impact is a growing area. Uh, um, we have a pathway devoted to social impact. So it's something we see a lot of interest in, and our students are doing a lot of really amazing things in. We have something here called board fellows. So if you're interested in getting experience serving on a nonprofit board, uh, it's a fairly competitive process, but because of how popular it is, but you have the opportunity to partner with a local Chicago area nonprofit and provide them your experience and expertise for part of your time here at Kellogg. And so this is something that people take a lot of advantage of doing. And then we have something called Kellogg Cares Day, which actually just passed last week. This is an opportunity for all members of the Kellogg community, from students to faculty to staff, to get involved and go out and do a service project together on the same day. So lots of different ways that you can get involved in the social impact space, and something that we are very proud of in terms of what we have on offer here.
Fantastic. It's great to hear. I know I'm chairing over at my YMCA here in Pasadena. So I know it can be a very impactful thing to be a part of those boards and to see the different people that it really gathers together in the community. So it's good to hear Kellogg making that a central part of their campus.
For sure.
And I guess one that I saw come in that's interesting is for reapplicants. How's that viewed by the admissions team? And is there a certain justification that should be made by that student?
Yeah, no, I love that question because we love reapplicants. What we want is, uh, as I said before, so many people that apply that unfortunately don't get offered admission are actually would be great Kellogg students, and we just aren't able to find room in the class for them that cycle. But every cycle is different, and so a lot of times, even if someone doesn't make material changes to their application year over year, their chances may vary of admission just based on what the current cycle might look like. That said, we strongly encourage you to take the time between applications to evaluate, to reflect. Your application, where it was strong and where it maybe could use some bolstering, right? So we want to see evidence of you taking that reflection, taking that time to review that, and then showing us in your next application where you've addressed those things, where you said, you know what, I realized that this was an area that I wanted to improve. Here's what I've spent my time doing. That's the best thing that we can see from our reapplicants. We have an essay specific for reapplicants where we ask that question. What have you spent the time between applications doing? And what do you want us to know about you that is different from last time, right? Sometimes that looks like improving a test score. Sometimes it's taking on a new leadership role at your organization or in um, uh, a nonprofit that you're a part of, or something like that. It can look like a lot of different things.
Fantastic. And we're coming down to the final 2 minutes. So, one of the things that I thought is a really interesting trend from GMAT Club side is we've seen an increase in membership. And I guess correlated to that, an increase in applications coming out for MBA programs. Uh, from that macro perspective, has that impacted your admissions team at Kellogg in terms of what they expect to review and how many sort of decisions they plan to make?
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those good problems to have, and you hear that term a lot. Oh, it's a good problem to have. It's still a problem, right? So like we've actually had to adjust our review process a bit to become more efficient, while not sacrificing the amount of care that we put into each application that we receive. Um, as I mentioned before, we have this holistic process, and it's something that we want to stay very true to because that's who we are as an organization, and that's our culture. And so we really did some pretty great work off cycle in really working on our evaluation process to get better and evaluating better while also being more efficient. So um, definitely it puts some strain on our resources in terms of the amount of time that we have to evaluate applications. But by utilizing some tools at our disposal to really look at our applications in a different way, this has enabled us to be more efficient with our review process, and while maintaining, as I said, that holistic process.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jerry, for giving us that sort of holistic view of seeing what campus and students are like at Kellogg. And thank you very much, Ika, for answering all the questions I couldn't get to. We thank you guys so much. Remember, we have booths going on, other sessions to please join. But once again, thank Jerry and Ika for their time. And I thank you
Thank
guys for
you
joining.
so much for having us, and best of luck to everybody in the process.
Thank you very much.